Hello again, I'm Trip Rogers, and this is Trip's Take. All right, we have reached the time of year when Thanksgiving is looking pretty good. We're a week away from Thanksgiving, but it's also the time of year when it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Well, actually, the store started looking like it was Christmas right before Labor Day, right after back to school in this area. And, you know, the other sure sign that the holiday is coming is the number of local radio stations that turn all Christmas. Now, again, I'm a fan of Christmas music. I always have been. One of the things I loved about SiriusXM, and I think I've talked about this on Trip's Take, is when they put their Christmas music channels or holiday music channels on. I'm sorry. I want to be PC here. And put them on November 1st. And I used to love listening to them. And I still get a kick out of listening to them. And I do to this day. But as I said, local radio stations are starting to flip. And the biggest owner of radio stations, iHeart, owns a number of stations across the country. And a number of them are all Christmas. But the funny part of it is that they were kind of late in going all Christmas on a lot of their iHeart radio stations, especially in their bigger markets. And I'm not sure why that was this year because, listen, after the presidential campaign that we had, God knows we need some good feelings and we need, some positivity, I guess. And I'm not saying it wasn't positive during the campaign, but the campaign got nasty and it was just, I think people were tired of it. And I think we need some positivity and we need a little Christmas. I'm sorry. I keep going back to that line. So, and it's funny because the iHeart radio stations finally have gone all Christmas. One of the things about last weekend is I went down to Tampa and I always participate in working for NBC Golf Channel as a volunteer for the Annika Golf Tournament. Well, this golf tournament was made more popular this year because Caitlin Clark played in the Pro-Am on Wednesday. The tournament was won by Nelly Korda, but one of the popular LPGA golfers, or a name you probably have heard, is Charlie Hull. And Charlie Hull, one of the reasons that she is so popular is, she really mixes it up with fans. She smokes during her rounds, and she always asks folks for a light on the course. And there have been some TikTok videos and stuff. And she really, listen, she is a breath of fresh air. She's not one of these cookie cutters. And again, a lot of the golfers, very serious, quiet. Charlie Hall's not that. She's the life of the party. And it was funny because I was talking to one of the members of the Pelican Golf Club, which is where this was. And he was telling me that at dinner the other night, we were talking to one of the golfers who was on the Solheim Cup. And I said, Charlie Hall was the life of the party at the Solheim Cup. And that doesn't surprise me. She played very well in the tournament, but her hip was bothering her, which was kind of surprising. Again, when you golf, you need your hips to turn. And if your hip's bothering you, it's tough. Well, she was at the top of the leaderboard. Nelly Korda caught her on Sunday. Nelly Korda, of course, probably the best known LPGA golfer, but the problem with the LPGA Tour, and I will say this, is outside of a couple of golfers, Nelly Korda is one of them, Charlie Hall is the other, name some of them, and you can't. I mean, the most popular American, Lexi Thompson, is retiring. Now, I'm sorry, Nelly Korda is American, and some of the golfers are also American, but again, I don't think that you have the names on the LPGA Tour that you have on the PGA Tour. But then again, listen, somebody like a Tiger Woods or a Caitlin Clark or a LeBron James only comes along once in a lifetime. And you have to enjoy the ride as it comes. Caitlin Clark has been a breath of fresh air for women's sports. And listen, it got me to watch a WNBA game. I watched the WNBA final over a World Series or a baseball playoff game and an NFL game. I watched that instead. And that's saying a lot because I would not go near WNBA games. But what she has done for this women's basketball is just astonishing. And they're starting that new 3-on-3 league, and they wanted her to play on it. And she said, no, I'm not going to, because she needs a little bit of rest. Because essentially she went from the college season right into the pro season. She played a full season, and she's entitled to some time off. And there's nothing wrong with that. But then again, she's got all kinds of endorsement deals, and that's the name of the game for the WNBA players. The WNBA players are not making all that much money, although that's probably going to change because they're getting big television money, and they're going to want to say to the owners, share the wealth. Let's go. Although the owners, of course, have funded that league at a deficit for a number of years, although they are starting to make money. In fact, they're looking at adding another 2 teams. They're adding one this year to go to 15, and they'll go to 16 year after. And there are rumors that Cleveland wants. In fact, that came out just recently. But, you talk about Caitlin Clark, and you talk about a transitional person. Golf, the last one that really comes to my mind, well, Annika Sorenstam, there's one, but the other was Nancy Lopez, because she got a lot of folks interested in women's golf back in the 80s, and in the 70s and 80s, I should say. And that really extended the brand. I know some of the golfers way back when, but the LPGA was a poor sister to, or sister actually, to the PGA, because back then they had Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Lee Trevino, Gary Player, Sam Snead was before my time, but those were the legends of golf. And again, you go out through the years and you can probably name more male golfers than you can LPGA players, mostly because of the fact the PGA Tour is on TV and you can see it just about every weekend. And of course, one of the biggest sporting events in our country, year after year, sure sign spring is coming, the Masters in Augusta, a tradition unlike any other. So I offer that little tidbit of sports information. Next week is Thanksgiving. You will find Trips Take right where you usually find it on Thursday at 9 a.m. And that is Trips Take for November the 21st, 2024. If you got a comment or question, love to hear from that. Just email it to tripstake@gmail.com. Fantasy football players getting close to the playoffs. And if you want the latest fantasy football information, tune into the Fantasy Sultans. The Hall of Famer Mike Sheck and yours truly do it every week. Drops the same time as this podcast, although next week with 3 Thanksgiving games and a Black Friday game, then we'll be dropping the podcast a day earlier. You can find it on Spotify for podcasters, YouTube. Just search for the Fantasy Sultans. And if you like the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, give a listen. WTRSradio.com is ready to go, and we'll have Christmas music right after Thanksgiving. Join me again next week. For now, I'm Trip Rogers. Thank you for being a part of Trips Take, and make it a great one.